2 years, $16 million. The Baltimore Ravens have signed Derrick Henry. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified for every single video. And in this video today, I'm obviously talking about the signing of Derrick Henry. Now, tonight, Joshua and I are recording a podcast episode, so we'll definitely be talking more free agency. Justin Madubuike signing, losing Gus and Gino and all those other guys. But right now, all I want to talk about is Derrick Henry. And I do apologize, I was out of town this last weekend. Otherwise, we were going to make videos. But I put out a post yesterday saying we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully we sign Derrick Henry, because Derrick Henry was my number one player for the Baltimore Ravens to go out and sign. And we did it, and we did it for cheaper than I was even hoping for, because I had no idea what the market was going to be in the running back situations. Because, when you look at other guys that got signed, Saquon was looking at around $11 to $12 million going to the Eagles. Josh Jacobs is like $8 million going to the Packers. And I was like, Derrick Henry is definitely the best running back, but he's older than those guys. So, what kind of market is he going to get? It was reported, I don't know if it was realistic, but $6.5 million was the offer from the Ravens. Obviously ended up getting to $8 million a year. And that's something that I am very, very okay with, because when you're looking at what running backs have been paid in previous years, I mean, you're looking at 10 to 15 and a half, maybe $16 million. That's very different from $8 million for Derrick Henry, who, by the way, is the second best running back in the NFL. I have said that for 4 years. If you guys don't know, my number one running back in the NFL has always been Christian McCaffrey. But Derrick Henry, obviously, he's the best rusher in the NFL. We'll say that because McCaffrey, what he brings to the passing game is what makes him so special. But Derrick Henry, dominant running back. And I think a lot of people looked at last year as, oh man, Derrick Henry had a down year. Derrick Henry was second in the NFL in rushing yards. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. And he was doing that in an offense that sucked. That's like one of the biggest things with Derrick Henry, right? Is Derrick Henry is one of the most unstoppable forces the NFL has ever seen. Well, here's what the Titans did on offense to help him out. They got rid of A.J. Brown. They benched their quarterback. And they said, all right, let's keep riding. I mean, their quarterback last year for a lot of the year was Will Levis. And their number one receiver was like Robert Woods sometimes, and a little bit of Treylon Burks. You're gonna stack the box every single time against that Titans team, and that's what the Ravens have been doing every time they face Derrick Henry. You have to stack the box against Derrick Henry. What do you have to do against Lamar Jackson? Well, a lot of times teams, what they will do is they will start going into nickel, dime, dollar packages, so adding more defensive backs on the field to have speed to stop Lamar Jackson. What does Derrick Henry do with speed? What does Derrick Henry do with the smaller defenders? He stiff arms them. He trucks them. He gets by them. He runs over them. He at least falls for extra yards. So now teams, when they're looking at the Baltimore Ravens and they're, even if they're in, 2 wide receiver set, are you going into nickel? Are you going into dime? Or are you going into base defense trying to stop Derrick Henry? Because you're looking at Lamar and you're looking at Derrick Henry, and then you're looking at Mark Andrews, who's going to cover him. And then you have the speed of Zay Flowers on the outside. And whoever the Ravens wide receiver 2 is, depending on if they draft a guy. Like, imagine they draft someone in the first round, a guy like A.D. Mitchell, who I know a lot of people like, or Keon Coleman, who I love. That's just going to add more and more dynamic, options to the Ravens offense, because Derrick Henry is the most difficult person to tackle in the NFL in the 21st century. And I think Lamar Jackson's probably the second. So you're looking at the 2 most difficult players to tackle in 40 years, probably. Like, obviously, you can throw Barry in there. I look at a guy like Earl Campbell, who's crazy difficult to tackle. But that's what the Ravens are looking at. They want to run the football. And I know a lot of people want the Ravens to go into this crazy high passing offense. That's never what I've wanted out of a Lamar Jackson offense. And I was very critical of Greg Roman as well. That's not what I'm looking for. I didn't mind the Ravens running the football a lot with Greg Roman. The awful part of Greg Roman was not that we run a lot. It was that when we pass, we look incompetent. With Todd Monken, he wants to pass the ball a little bit more. He's better than Greg Roman, especially in that game. Not as good in the run game, but what he is going to bring to the table is when the Ravens are running the ball a lot and they do decide to throw, the passing schemes look better, right? He does like to throw a lot of screen passes, and I don't know if you know this. I've said this for 2 or 3 years. The best play in the NFL, most unstoppable play in the NFL is the Derrick Henry screen pass, a play that is run very rarely. However, all of a sudden, you just see like Derrick Henry catch the ball and get in full sprint prior to reaching any defensive backs. It's one of the best plays in the NFL. If it's not going for under 20 yards, it's a touchdown. And it gets like 20 yards every single time. So I think that's an aspect to the offense. The other thing is you look at Keaton Mitchell, and now we have a dynamic 1-2 punch, right? Derrick Henry is wearing you out every single down, and then Keaton Mitchell can come in and he can take the top off. I think we'll see a lot of 2 running back sets. I think we're also going to see under center with a fullback with Derrick Henry, right? Or even just pistol with a fullback and Derrick Henry, or I don't know, I keep saying with Derrick Henry, with Patrick Ricard is what I'm meaning to say. Patrick Ricard blocking for Derrick Henry. That's scary. No linebacker wants to deal with that. No defensive back wants to deal with that. Derrick Henry is already enough to deal with, and now you have Patrick Ricard as a guy who's going to be blocking for him. The Ravens are adding a lot of size to their offensive line. Obviously, we don't know who's going to end up being the starter, but as it looks right now, we could definitely see Daniel Faalele, Andrew Voorhees, Ben Cleveland all stepping into roles, all big offensive linemen, even compared to the guys that they would be replacing. This Ravens team is trying to run the football because they realize that's how they should have beaten the Chiefs. And when you have a guy like Derrick Henry, you can't forget, right? Because every single on the team is going to be saying, give it to Derrick Henry. The other aspect about Derrick Henry that I love, red zone efficiency, right? The Ravens don't have a QB sneak. They don't run QB sneak. Lamar can't run QB sneak. He sucks at it. I don't know how he's so bad at QB sneak. It's really funny. He just runs it in a different way. He doesn't really do it like how a traditional player like a Jalen Hurts or Tom Brady or Joe Flacco would do it, where it's snap and you just kind of dive in the hole. He kind of snaps, takes a step back, looks, and then jumps. It's not good. That's why the Ravens don't run it. Now all of a sudden we have Derrick Henry for 1-yard situations. We get to 1st and goal at the 2. Run the ball. And I know we used to have Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards was decent in those types of situations, but now we have the best guy for those situations. Maybe the best ever for those situations. I'm super excited to have Derrick Henry. Guys, let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts. If you have any questions you want Joshua and I to talk about, let us know. But thank you all so much. Subscribe for more, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.